it would have been much easier for me to step in and just say, okay, you're done, take the gun and move on. But what that, with the unintended consequence, what that teaches the child is you get as out of control as you want to, you push as far as you want to push, you get as close to the line as you can, maybe even cross over the line. You do anything you want, get as dysregulated, as out of control, as far as you want to go. And once I or someone else in your life deems that you've gone too far, I will step in and regulate your behavior for you. Hi, I'm Dr. Brenna Hicks, the Kid Counselor. When I meet with parents at my practice, they almost always tell me they wish they could crawl inside my brain so they could absorb everything that I know about kids and parents. As a result, I started this video series so that you can get the benefit of my insight into kids and how to effectively parent them. But most importantly, you get my perspective into your children's struggles viewed through the lens of play therapy. Hi, today I want to share a story with you about something that I typically end up talking to my parents about when they come to meet me at my private practice, and the significance of the revelation that takes place as a result of this story that I share. And the story is, I was working with an 11-year-old boy who really struggled to regulate himself, and he struggled to communicate so that he could get his needs met. And I always tell people that if you can't articulate what your needs are, no one can meet them for you. So there's a learned process of recognizing what you're feeling and then being able to share that with somebody so that they could understand and meet your needs. And he struggled to do all of that. So the short version of the story is he had a dart gun, finally loaded the dart, was ready to fire it, and aimed it at me. And I said, you're thinking about shooting me, but you know that people aren't for shooting. You can choose to shoot at something else instead. And he cocked his head, which is children speak for I'm processing this choice, and shot me. And the dart hit me right in the throat. And it actually hurt pretty significantly. So I had to give myself 30 or so seconds to recover before I even said anything back. I was still a little shocked and it hurt, so I was dealing with that myself. And there's a lot more to the story, and if I had more time, I would give you the whole scenario. But the reaction was he would not make eye contact with me and just stared at the ground. And what that means is he was anticipating something pretty severe. He knew that he had done something that I specifically had told him not to do, even though I didn't say, don't you shoot me, but he understood that that was the expectation. And as a result, he did anyway. And he expected me to get angry, to yell, to enforce a consequence or an outcome. There would be punishment, there would be discipline. I would yell, I would get angry, I would take the gun away. You know, in any other scenario in his life, if he would have made that decision, there would have been a negative repercussion for that. Well, the great thing about being a play therapist and the great thing about having a playroom is that is the one place in the world where those normal expected outcomes don't take place. And so after I regrouped, I said, you chose to shoot me anyway, even though you knew that people weren't for shooting, but it hurt because it hit me in the throat. Now, I feel it's important to point out a few things. I did not say, you hurt me. I did not say, I told you not to. I did not reach over and take the gun out of his hand and say, you don't get to play with that anymore. My response was to tell him what happened neutrally and give him the space to process what had happened himself. So after I said it hurt because it hit me in the throat, his head cocks again, telltale, I have to process this now. And he said, fine, rolled his eyes, walked over, picked the dart up, and started shooting at the wall on the other side of the room. If I had another hour or so, I could tell you all of the implications that took place in that interaction. However, what I think is the most significant for you and what parents usually get their aha moment from when I meet with them face to face is it would have been much easier for me to step in and just say, okay, you're done, take the gun and move on. But with the unintended consequence, what that teaches the child is you get as out of control as you want to, you push as far as you want to push, you get as close to the line as you can, maybe even cross over the line. You do anything you want, get as dysregulated, as out of control, as far as you want to go. And once I or someone else in your life deems that you've gone too far, I will step in and regulate your behavior for you. Because the child doesn't need to learn to self-regulate. There would have been no need for him to regulate if I would have taken the gun away. The threat of not obeying the limit was taken away. He couldn't shoot me anymore because I made sure he wasn't able to. By letting him continue to hold the gun and continue to have access to the darts and saying, it hurt because it hit me in the throat and you knew that people weren't for shooting, he processes it, begrudgingly says okay, and starts shooting at the wall. In that moment, he's self-regulated and he's self-controlled. And the way that I said the limit in the first place, you're thinking about doing this, but people aren't for shooting. I didn't say, if you shoot me with that, you're going to lose it. Or don't you dare shoot me with that, or I'm taking the gun from you. Those are threats. And when we threaten kids, they learn to fear the outcome. They don't learn anything about self-regulation. And if I would have taken the gun away, I'm teaching him, I will regulate your behavior for you. So in either scenario, they either fear the outcome, but they don't learn how to self-regulate, or they learn, I don't have to regulate because someone will regulate for me. And what I feel parents often tell me they want is not what they actually want. Because I often hear parents tell me, I want my kid to obey. I want my kid to listen. I want everything to not be a fight. I want my child to just do what I ask and it'll just be easy. But what I think they really want is they want their child to self-regulate. Because if we are constantly expecting our children to do what we want, that often is, if I tell you go to your room because you've gone too far and you've done something you shouldn't, after you're already completely dysregulated, I want you to listen to me when I tell you that this is the outcome. But that they're not given the practice or the opportunity or the experience of learning how to self-control and self-regulate. And self-regulation is learned. We don't come, with that ability in infancy. We learn that over time, and self-regulation is something that you practice, and it's something that you model, and it's something that you observe. So when kids are getting dysregulated, that leads to the threats and the punishment and the disobedience and the consequence and the anger and the frustration and all of the stuff that parents tell me they deal with all the time. But the root of all of it is the child's inability to self-regulate and self-control. So I hope that changes the perspective a little bit, because it's very easy to get frustrated with having to discipline, having to enforce consequences. And through the limit setting process and the choice giving process, which are two principles that I teach in my private coaching and the parent training program, that gives you the tools so that they are then given the opportunity to learn self-regulation and self-control. Because a neutral limit and a choice, they automatically choose the outcome rather than I wait until things get so far, so bad, so fast. Then as the parent, I step in and say, okay, that's it, you're done. I told you 16 times that if you yell at your sister again, you're in trouble. Well, this is the 17th time, so now I've had it. And that's the normal progression in families, because we want them to do what we ask, but they don't know how. So they just keep escalating, and then it finally all comes to a head. So the limit setting and the choice giving principles that are rooted in play therapy are what equips them to learn those skills, and it equips you as a parent to have the freedom and the liberty to say, I didn't have to discipline, I didn't have to take something away, I didn't have to enforce a consequence, I just gave them the opportunity to choose the outcome. So it's a huge paradigm shift. I hope that that gives you some insight. I hope that that helps you to see that self-regulation really is at the root of almost all of the parenting struggles. Because if it's done with fear, if it's done with threats, if it's done with, I will regulate for you once it gets too far, all of those create that dynamic that is so frustrating and is so overwhelming at times. So learning how to help your child self-regulate is a huge game changer in your parenting arsenal. So I hope that that encourages you. If you'd like more information, there's a lot more videos that I create for you with the choice giving and limit setting skills. So please check those out, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.